Hello, my friends. This is Dr. Mel Krug. Welcome to my YouTube channel or this training, wherever you're tuning into this training. I am grateful you were here. In this training, we are going to be talking all about what the F to do when your revenue takes a dip. Now, the first thing to understand is if you're a healer, a leader, an entrepreneur, you own a business. I often work with a lot of business owners or people who are leaders in their company. The first thing you've got to get in your consciousness and in your mind is that business is not linear. Nothing in life is linear. Everything in the universe operates in waves. This is the law of rhythm. This is the law of polarity. And that polarity is the baseline construct of the universe, positives and negatives. It is literally the foundation of our matter, protons and electrons, right? Ups and downs, highs and lows, lights, darks, yin, yang, sun, moon, inhale, exhale. That is the law of rhythm and that is the law of polarity. So understanding that your revenue and money is going to do the same thing. So having the expectation in business that things are going to go up and up and up and up is really something that you've got to dissolve. And I'm here in this training to help you. So welcome to my channel. Welcome to this training, however you're tuning in. This is a training by request from my clients in my programs. And I wanted to make it public because I see so many entrepreneurs get so in their head. So if you found this video, chances are that you are a conscious entrepreneur. You are someone who is building a business that makes a lot of impact, or you're a leader in your company who really leads with your heart, and you're here to navigate the things and the challenges of life in a much more masterful way and not go into freak out mode. And in our culture, we do this weird thing with money. And if you're curious on how to master money energetics and embody your inner wealth, stay tuned to the end because I have an invitation for you, okay? So as you're looking at this video, this is going to be a long form, rather training format. And I'm going to share my screen and use my iPad to actually teach you, because this is something I love doing in my private programs and what clients pay for. So I figured, why not put this out to the world so that you can actually learn something here and not just listen to me. So let's dive in. I've got to give my iPad host, and then we're going to screen share. And so if you have a pen, if you have a piece of paper, if you are taking notes, let's dive in. Okay, so here we go. Hopefully you can see my screen and you can see my iPad. So the first thing to understand here, I'm going to move a couple things around so I can draw this out that is not messy. The first thing to understand is that when you're having a reaction to anything, when you're emotionally triggered, what's happening is your reality is not matching your expectations. And I want you to get that. Anytime reality doesn't match what we have in our mind of what we think should be happening, we're going to have an emotional response. And that's part of being human. There's no such thing as escaping emotion. We're never going to escape emotion. The mastery is, how do you navigate and recover and repair and not stay in emotional chaos, but come back to emotional coherence and emotional alignment? So your emotions are an intelligent signal that something's out of alignment. Something's off. It could be off in your expectations. It could be off in your physiology, your psychology, your relationships, your vision. That's for other trainings. If you're interested in that, go to my website, drmelkrug.com. I've got tons of free trainings for you there. But it's important to understand that emotions are not bad. They are part of the human experience. And so when, let's say, you think that your revenue should go up every month and the opposite happens, there's a couple things at play. But let's first talk about, how do we navigate the emotions in the moment? Well, I like to invite people to consider the breakdown blueprint. And this is something I teach, like I said, in my other trainings. So the breakdown blueprint is this. Number one, you want to breathe, okay? In the moment, you're feeling charged, you're feeling emotional, just breathe. Nothing is going to happen unless you actually come back to your center. Because when you're emotionally erratic and you're freaking out, or you're frantic, or you're having a meltdown, you're having a breakdown, or a mentee bee, as the kids call it these days, you're not going to be as efficient and effective if you're not getting oxygen to your body. So just like take a deep breath. Even let's do that right now. Okay. See how even one breath you're like, okay, I'm not going to die, right? Money comes and goes in your life, but you really don't get your time back. So if you're going to sit in an emotional, chaotic loop for days and weeks on end, you're losing time. Money, my friends, is going to come and go, but it's time that you don't get back. And that's one of the biggest regrets that people have when they're on their deathbed is that they wish they did more things that they loved and enjoyed and not wasted their time on little things that don't really matter. So just take a breath. Okay, so that's the B of the breakdown blueprint. The second part is reset physically. Okay, what I mean by this is literally go move your body, take a walk, exit the environment that's creating the stress. Go take a bath. Go move your body. You cannot be stuck in the mind without being stuck in the body. So when you can go move your body, your mind and your emotions are going to start to flow. There's nothing that a walk can't really tend to. It's not going to fix everything, but it can definitely reset you physically, which will reset you mentally and emotionally so you can come back to the situation with more of a clear mind and a clear heart and a clear body. The next one is having an emotional or mental, oops, emotional, mental reset. So we want to reset physically because what's happening in the mind is often happening in the body. So I like to take a bottom-up approach with people. I am a chiropractor. If this is your first time on this training, if this is your first time meeting me, welcome. I am a classically trained chiropractor. I practice network spinal. I also am the founder of the Inspire Method, in which I teach healers, leaders, and entrepreneurs to get really radical results for their clients. And I ultimately am here on this planet to help people transform trauma to triumph, build unstoppable confidence, truly heal their body, mind, and soul from the inside out, and ultimately create meaningful relationships to build generational wealth. So that's why I'm here on this planet. So welcome. Reset emotionally and mentally. So in the moment, it's very easy to think, oh my gosh, what's wrong with me? What am I doing wrong? And remember, you're having, if we know that the universe and the body is intelligent, then we must understand that those emotions and those thoughts are also intelligent because they're part of you. And so if we can look at the experience as an opportunity to learn something, we won't repeat it into the future because we repeat what we don't repair. And repair requires us to look at both sides of any situation, right? The positives and the negatives, so we can come back to wholeness and balance. So some of the things you can do to reset mentally and emotionally when you're having a moment of like, my revenue's down and I don't know how I'm going to pay rent, or like, I don't know how I'm going to, our brain just takes off in all these patterns, is ask yourself, one, what is the benefit of this? What is this teaching me? What is the lesson? What am I here to learn from this? Now, this is after you've given yourself a moment to move, you're breathing, because I get in the moment, sometimes it's hard to access those types of thoughts. And you're in your amygdala, you're in your brainstem, you're in more of your animalistic ways, and you can't access those types of thoughts. So when you can move your system and your body and breathe, you actually are getting more access to think this way. So I give my clients this a lot. Write down 20 or 30 benefits to what is a low revenue month teaching you. Here are some examples that you can use that I've walked myself through, walked my clients through. Maybe it's teaching you to get more organized with your money. Maybe it's helping you to have the courage to raise your prices. Perhaps it's teaching you how to plan, marketing, sales. Perhaps it's inviting you to realize and break through the addiction that everything has to be high and go on an upward spiral all the time. So it's breaking your addiction to highs. And when you can break your addiction to something being high all the time, you won't actually chase it. You'll expand with more sustainability and you'll expand with less effort. So there, I literally just gave you like 5 to 10 right there, my friends. So asking the question, what is this teaching me? What is the benefit? What is the lesson? And when you can actually see the other side of an experience that you perceive as negative and see the positives, you bring it back to a state of coherence and neutrality and gratitude and love. And when we can love the experience versus resist it, that actually allows it to change. And you won't keep repeating the same cycle over and over and over again. And so when you go through these ups and downs of revenue, you won't freak out as much. You know that this is the law of polarity. You know that this is the law of rhythm. The next one is A. So you want to allow for a self self-containing moment. Now, in the order of things, break. This A might actually go first, or it might actually go in between the R and the B. But what I mean by a self-containing moment is if you're really charged and you really are just like not having the mental emotional reset, let yourself have a bitch fest. Let yourself have a moment where you bitch about it. You give yourself a little tantrum. But here's the thing, you got to set the timer on this. So give yourself no more than a day, because the more that you stay in your story around it, the more you actually myelinate and somaticize matching this experience with the programs of your past. And we don't want to do that. And we also don't want to bypass the emotion. So sometimes we need to play out the role of feeling like we're victimized, feeling like we're helpless, feeling like we're hopeless, because the truth is, in those moments and in those emotions, we do get something out of it, right? We're discharging energy, maybe we're getting attention, maybe deep down we actually just need people to see us. Maybe if you're in a coaching group, it gives you an opportunity to ask questions, because we wouldn't do something if we didn't get something out of it, even when it comes to drama. So let yourself have a self-containing moment, have a drama moment where you just play out those archetypes of like the victim or feeling hopeless or things like that. But have the awareness that this isn't going to last forever. Because if you stay in that energy for long enough, you're not going to be able to get out. And simultaneously, it's important to like digest and metabolize those archetypes. Otherwise, they're going to keep popping up. And so when you can see the benefit of it and be like, oh yeah, sometimes I'm a little bitch about money. Sometimes I'm a little victim about money. You can kind of laugh about it. And when you give yourself that moment to just be like, oh, okay, this is annoying, blah, 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 let it out, give yourself some space, then come back to, okay, what is this actually teaching me? Right? So sometimes our inner toddler needs a moment, because perhaps, you're probably on this channel because like me, you didn't learn all the things about money and business. I am the first entrepreneur in my family, and I didn't learn this stuff about money. I didn't learn this stuff about, navigating ups and downs of business. No way. My parents were teachers. My grandparents were teachers. They had 9 to 5s. They had a quote unquote steady paycheck, but we know nowadays nothing is guaranteed. Not even a paycheck, right? The system can let you go at any moment. So know that these emotions, like I said earlier, when they're emerging, they're a sign that there's something undigested here in your nervous system, and it's really beautiful. It's an opportunity for your inner toddler, your inner teenager to let themselves express, and then allow that higher self to come online and be like, okay, what do you actually need? What's actually going on here? Are you afraid that, you're going to fuck it up? Are you afraid that you're going to lose it all? And we'll talk about that later in this video, in this training. But give yourself a moment. Just let yourself, and I say this to my husband, I'll say, I just need a moment to vent. And then when I can get that out of my system, then I have more clarity to come at it from a more coherent, logical, kind of CEO mindset, right? So give yourself a moment, because you as a leader, you can't stay in there. You can't lead people. You can't lead your team. You can't lead your clients when you're constantly bitching about things, okay? And what you bitch about will come about. Last but not least, K, is keep going. Don't give up, okay? Keep going. Give yourself a little breakdown moment. Use this breakdown blueprint to break through, and don't give up. Recover, rest, take a step back. Maybe you've been in the numbers all day. Maybe you're a little bit in your logical mind. Take a step back, rest, give yourself moments away from your business. I find that moments away from my business, I come back with so much more clarity, so much more inspiration, so much more creativity. But it took me a while in business to actually trust that I could step away and nothing was going to fall apart, right? I wasn't going to freak out. And actually, I've found now I've retrained my system and recoded my nervous system so much that the more I actually step away and the more rest and fun I have, the more money my business makes. And I've trained myself to have that belief, and I've encoded that now into my nervous system. And that's just what I believe. That is my belief. But for a long time, I believed that I had to work harder to make more money, or I had to do more to make more money, or I had to please people to make more money. And I've learned through what I'm teaching you in this training how to dissolve that and how to adapt and shift my belief architecture. So that's part one of this, is take a moment, give yourself a breakdown to breakthrough moment. We're going to erase this here. So hopefully you're taking notes. And if you have any questions or you want me to expand on anything, drop in the comments like, hey, I would love for you to do a video on more of the method I'm teaching. I would love for you to do more of this type of training on the mental emotional piece or business and biology. Just drop in the comments like what's landing for you, and that will help me create content that actually serves you. Okay. So you've done the breakdown blueprint. The second thing to consider is what goes up. I'm going to change my color here to, what do we want to change it to, folks? Blue. What goes up must come down. What goes up again also must come down. Now, this could be money. This could be time. This can also be your emotions or your nervous system response. And this is time. Okay. So what goes up must come down. When you're addicted to the high, right? Oh my gosh, I had an amazing month. Let's go celebrate. Like you're super prideful. This is your pride. This is your shame. When you're super infatuated and addicted to highs, because your nervous system works on waves of coherence, right? This is coherence. This blue line here that I drew, this is turbulence. In fact, we should probably, let's just draw it in red, right? Oops, let's undo that. Well, you get the gist, right? Your nervous system wants to be in homeostasis, okay? Homeostasis is balance, it's regulation, it's embodiment, and our body functions best here. So when we get super up in our emotions, in our mind, in our thoughts, in our experiences, what goes up must come down. So your pride is going to be driven by more of that dopamine, cortisol, adrenaline. And so if you stay up there and you get super infatuated with high months, you actually are going to create subconsciously or maybe consciously now, thanks to this training, you're going to create low months because it's the universe that works on the laws of equilibrium, which, by the way, everything I teach in all of my trainings is filtered through the lens of the principles of the universe and what is actually law. Teaching law. How does it apply to your body? How does it apply to your relationships? How does it apply to your physiology, nature, and business? So I think we try to bend the laws of the universe a lot in business because everyone wants to go for these moon shots, right? If this is the if this is the moon up here, sorry, that was meant to be different color. This is your half little moon up here. A lot of people are trying to go for moonshots when they don't have the sustainability of understanding that if you want to go for a moonshot, there's going to be a subtle kind of drop because law of rhythm. And in order to create that moonshot as your new baseline, you have to create safety and stability in your nervous system to expand into that. And so many people, especially women, if you're a female entrepreneur, they don't feel safe in expanding into more because of past experiences they've had with people judging them or what money means, right? So if you're moonshotting and you're super prideful, super infatuated, and you're not balanced around it to see that sometimes, my friends, there is a drawback to the up, then you're going to create that big dip. And if you look at the area underneath the curve here, and then the area underneath the curve here, hopefully this isn't getting too messy for you. If you look at this area and then this area, it's actually equal. So people think that this isn't balanced, but it actually is. It's just wider amplitudes of the wave. Is this making sense? Let me know. Drop in the comments. So the goal is, number one, catching yourself when you're in pride, understanding, am I addicted to money? Because my friends, money's going to come and go. And if you tie your self-worth into money, then that's a recipe for disaster. Your self-worth is inherent and it's inside, it's internal, and money is a byproduct of knowing your self-worth regardless of the number in your bank account. So money is going to follow the frequency of self-worth and self-value. And so your money is simply a byproduct of that. And if we tie all of our self-worth into the amount of money we make, well, again, that's a recipe for this type of turbulence and this type of disaster. I'm going to move this over so you can see it. So when we go up, things must come down. Now here's the key. We're going to erase this again. So some people might be like, but Mel, like, I don't want to just flatline with my revenue. Like, I want to grow. Yes, we all want to grow. Trust me, I get it. I've had two of my highest months in business at the time of this recording, and it wasn't followed by a big dip because I know the nature of these laws and how it applies to sales, how it applies to money dynamics, how it applies to energetics, how it applies to marketing. So if you want to learn that for yourself, then go to the show notes, go to my website, drmelkrug.com. I'm hosting my Money Metamorphosis. And that training and that live experience plus 25 hours of training is going to walk you through exactly how to do this in your own life and the exact frameworks that I teach my high level clients to double, if not triple, their revenue within 1 year. And it's by working less. Okay. So I really want you to get that. This is absolutely possible for you. Whether you're an entrepreneur or not, this is totally for you. Okay. So how do we navigate this? You have to understand that everything is filtered through the lens of your biology. So we can't bend the rules there. You can absolutely tap into quantum biology, which is what I want to teach you. But let's say that you're going up, right? And you're noticing in business you're having these big ups and downs and you're kind of just staying the same. So the question that people ask me is, how do we do this, right? How do we actually expand through space-time where every couple months or every couple weeks, there's still ups and downs, but see how that line of coherence, it's still more coherent. But every time you set in a new baseline, you stabilize it. And we stabilize it by feeling safe, not comfortable, but we have to feel safe in our nervous system to expand into more. And the ability to hold more, the ability to manage more, the ability to understand that with more money comes more responsibility. And that's what I see a lot of people miss is when they're on this roller coaster of more equals better, not necessarily more is just more. More is inherently neutral until you assign meaning. So this red line is that line of pride and shame and the feast or famine cycle, which your physiology is absolutely driving this, which is why I'm big on entrepreneurs owning their biology, because you are the best asset of your life. But what will happen if you don't feel safe and you only see one side to more, you'll create the crash to get you to humble yourself and learn those lessons. Because money follows order and organization. Money likes order. Money likes when you tend to it. Energy follows order and organization. This is the law of syntropy or negentropy, where the universe, a lot of people think, is entropy, which is the red line, but syntropy is more energy equals more organization. So you can see this line is coherent, but over time, it's going up. Okay. And this is revenue. Okay. So I don't know where you're at in your baseline capacity or your revenue ceiling is what I call it, which is why I'm going to invite you to the money metamorphosis experience, because in that live activation, in those live activations and trainings, I actually teach you how to develop more safety with more and understand that more doesn't mean better. More just means there's a different set of both opportunities and challenge. And let's be real. A lot of people think more money equals more opportunities, but more opportunities sometimes can freeze people. So more opportunities isn't better. Having more opportunities means you need to be extremely discerning of what you actually want. Otherwise, too many opportunities, you're going to go right back to square one. So more doesn't equal better. More just simply means there's more to organize, more to probably navigate with taxes. So the question that you can play with here is, what's the drawback of having more money? What's the benefit of having less? And I know that seems really counterintuitive, but we got to break the fantasy and the nightmare before we can expand into more. Because when you can essentially have more emotional coherence with money, the paradox of that exercise is more is going to come to you because you're navigating it with poise, with ease, with groundedness, not chaotic, frenetic energy. You're not holding your breath when you check your bank account. You're not freaking out when a client pays you or doesn't pay you. You're steady. And people are seeking steady leaders in the culture right now in this awakening that is currently happening. Okay. So more does not equal better. More equals just simply more challenges and more opportunities that are going to arise that you, as a conscious creator and a conscious entrepreneur, get to learn how to navigate. And therefore, paradoxically, more money is going to flow to you because you're getting more organized. So a couple examples of this can be, one, protecting your cash flow. So have you organized your accounts? Do you have automatic transfers? Do you have accounts that are for protection, right? Do you have a cash savings when emergencies happen? And what's funny is the more you actually organize your money, the less you attract emergencies because you're not living in that belief and that consciousness that emergencies happen to me. You're a person who holds an identity and a frequency that I am prepared no matter what, and I don't need to attract emergencies because you've set a new baseline for how much you actually want to receive. And you've set that tone with the universe of like, I make no less than this per month. And that is who I am. That is my identity. I run my business like a company, not a commodity. And companies and entities build cash flow. They understand how to navigate cash flow. Think about that for a second. Even if you're a solo entrepreneur, imagine holding the identity and the frequency that you're running a company. How would you manage your money differently? How would you show up differently? How would you lead differently? Versus, I think a lot of people, might feel a certain way about being a solo entrepreneur. And that's okay. If you're the only person in your business, you can still hold the energy that you are the CEO and you are a company and you're building a company. And companies plan for ups and downs. Companies plan for injection of cash flow. They plan for expenses. So where are you not planning for expenses? Where are you disorganized and how can you get more ordered and organized with your money? And these low months that you're having are a beautiful signal to get you to pay attention to that. So can you set up automaticity? In my higher level trainings for my clients, my paid clients, I have a training, and in the Money Metamorphosis program, I have a training in there called the 5 phases of wealth evolution. And we all go through 5 phases of wealth evolution as a human being. And the first one is having protection. So do you have accounts to protect you? Do you have things set up to protect you, like life insurance or any type of insurance or a cash savings that's going to protect you and your potential employees? Do you have power moves? So once you develop enough cash flow, are you reinvesting into the business? Are you investing in other things that are going to make you passive money? Play and pleasure. Those are the 2 other P's. There's 5 P's in the 5 phases of wealth evolution. Play and pleasure, right? Because it's one thing to grow a business or grow your revenue, but if you're not having fun and doing things in your values, then what the hell is the point, right? Because money is going to come and go. So do you know your values? Do you know how to spend and invest in your values? And ultimately, the last one is philanthropy or purpose. So money without a purpose leads to debauchery. Money with meaning and purpose leads to philanthropy. So having a purpose and philanthropy for your life actually will pull more revenue into your energetic vortex because you're directing it in a place that is of benefit to all for the universe. So I know I went in a little bit of a tangent there, but I really want you to get this. And this is how you stop the feast famine cycle, because you have to understand, number one, the laws of the universe, and number two, where you have autonomy and agency in that process. I get that sometimes when the months are low, it can feel helpless, but you have to remember things happen. Money's going to come and go. But in all situations, you have autonomy and you have agency every step of the way. You may not have control over the money, but you do have control over your inner state. And paradoxically, when you do that, you become a vibrational and energetic set point for something new to come into your life. And you set a new standard for how you want money to show up. And you get to command the universe of that too, which is really, really cool. Okay. So I'm going to draw this one more time and make it less messy. So you're starting to master the feast famine. And instead of being feasting and chasing and then going into famine, you're developing a wealth frequency that serves your sustainability and expanding your wealth sustainably over time. So let's say this is what you're starting to capture in your life. What you're starting to expand into, this is time and this is money. So we could call these peaks, maybe this is every 2 months. So you've got a new baseline, new baseline, new baseline. So when you're at a new peak, okay, let's say there's been a duration of time here. Instead of trying to go for these moonshots because everyone around you is telling you how to moonshot and they don't have any, they're not telling you the behind the scenes of like the baseline practicality they've had to develop to do that so that the moonshot stays up there and you don't go all the way back down. You want to look at, okay, instead of trying to moonshot, how can I beat my last 6 to 8 weeks of revenue by 10%? And the reason 10% is really important, and my mentor, John DeMartini and Alok Trivedi have taught me this, and some other mentors in my life. The reason why we say 10% is think about lifting weights, right? All of this comes back to physiology and laws and biology, right? Because we can't out trick our biology. Think about when you're lifting weights. Let's say you're starting with bicep curls. Well, you might one week go from 10 pounds to then 11 or 12 pounds, right? So that's a 10 to 20% increase. And then you might go from 12 pounds to 15. That's another 10%. But you're not going to go from 10 pounds to 30 pounds. That's going to lead to breakdown. That's going to lead to this, right? I'm not saying you couldn't do it, but what's the sustainability of that? So stretch it by 10% because that 10% is going to hold you accountable for growth, but it's not going to completely derail your nervous system and your biology. And then you get to a new baseline. You're like, okay, I used to say, and I want you entrepreneurs to get this, what I used to say was a quote unquote low month is now actually a high month, right? What I used to say was a low month is now a new high. And what I used to say was a high month is now my new low. I don't know if I said that right. Maybe let me rephrase that. What you used to think was high is now your new baseline. I remember when I first started practice, I thought $20,000 in a month was like, oh my God, I'm fucking baller, right? Because I had never experienced that. I had never experienced that in my life. And then now 60 to 80 plus K months are just normal in my company. And that's between different businesses, of course, but that's become normal. So now my edge is 6-figure months in my company. So 20K is just like another week, it's just another week. And I've normalized that in my nervous system and I've expanded that like 20K is just, that's who I am. Like I generate in my company like 20K, 30K, 50K is the minimum. It's the minimum and that's who we are. That's what we do. It's who I've become. So hopefully you're starting to see the synergy of everything I'm teaching you. Okay. Let's digress. Number one, making sure you give yourself a breakdown moment. Okay. Feel all your shit. Let your inner toddler and your inner teenager have their moment. Okay. It's okay. But we also want to make sure that they can grow up with you. They want to grow up with you. They're like, hey, bring me along for this cool ride. Okay. Bring me along. Two, you want to make sure you're looking at what is it that I might be addicted to and how can I rewire that? How can I recode that? Another thing I forgot to mention too is if you perceive, if this is the wheel, I call this the wheel of wholeness, which is the 7 areas of life. We all have 7 areas of life that we human beings love to try to master. You've got your spiritual side, your physical, your mental, emotional, social, familial, financial, and vocational. Sometimes I split up mental and emotional. This is the wheel of wholeness. So if you perceive, move this a little bit so you can see it. If you perceive your revenue in your business is down, in what form are you up? So if you perceive that cash is tight, maybe in your, this is family. Maybe in your family, you're having more connection. If you perceive that your mind and your mental health is down for a little bit, maybe you're up in your job or in your vocation or in your business because nothing is missing. The law of transmutation of energy and the law of thermodynamics states that energy never goes missing. It's just transformed from one form to another. Energy is neither created nor destroyed. It just simply changes form. So if you're finding yourself, oh my gosh, I'm down in business, well, maybe you're up in your relationship, you're up in your family, or maybe you're crushing it in the gym and you're expanding your wealth in your gym, in the gym. You're expanding your physical wealth and the money will come. So things are just bouncing around and changing form all the time within your wheel of wholeness. So find the form in which you're up. If you perceive you're down, where are you up? If you perceive you're tight, where are you expanded? If you perceive you're contracted, where are you expanded? If you perceive you're skinny in one area, where are you overflowing in another area? right? If you experience and perceive you're underflowing, where are you overflowing? I promise you it's there. You just have to look and expand your consciousness to look at all areas of life. And the last but not least, my friends, thanks for hanging in here. This is going much longer than I thought, but I hope it's beneficial. Let me know what you're getting out of it in the comments. This is usually trainings that I keep within my programs, and I break down all of this, so much detail and so much of rewiring and recoding in your neurology in the money metamorphosis. So there's a lot of exercises in there that aren't just strategy, but it's making sure that your biology is keeping up with these new thought patterns. Okay. And then the last thing I'd like to give is my fear alchemization framework. And I'm not going to walk through the whole thing, but a part of the fear alchemization framework is doing what I call a worst case scenario experience. And there's other parts to this, but one of the things in the fear alchemization framework, which we look at, where is this stemming from? Where did this belief come from? Where is this belief in your body? What would happen if you transform this belief? And how would that benefit the person who actually gave you this belief, right? That's kind of the gist of the framework. But at the end, I talk about, okay, what's the worst case scenario? And a lot of entrepreneurs are like, oh my gosh, I'm going to go bankrupt. I'm not going to have any money. I'm not going to pay my rent. My parents are going to get mad at me. Like, just say the fear, because that's really what you're running from. It's not even about the money. It's what you're making the money mean and what you make less money mean. And so if you can actually just say the fear out loud, like, oh, I'm terrified of going bankrupt and what that means about my reputation, then the question is, which I know this can seem a little cynical, but it's really, really liberating and really, really empowering, is, okay, if that were to come true, like if that were actually going to come true, which chances are it probably won't, but some people it does because they create it in there. They're so afraid that that fear actually becomes true because that's the frequency you're resonating with, right? So asking the question, like, okay, if this thing were to actually come true, what would be the benefit of that? What would it teach you? And I know some people are like, oh my gosh, there's no benefit. Yes, there is. Otherwise, you wouldn't be having the thoughts, because we don't have thoughts and we don't take behaviors or do things unless we get something out of it. That's just human nature. That's human biology. That is physiological law. Because we don't move towards things or we don't do things, we don't get some benefit, right? Because we're constantly in our amygdala chasing pleasure and avoiding pain. So if this thing were to come true, if you were to lose all your money and go bankrupt and people judged you and destroyed your reputation, how would that actually benefit you? And my friends, when you actually look at this exercise and you do it, I promise you, it is the most liberating fucking thing. And you realize that money no longer has to control and run your life, and that you get to show up every day and do what you love, and money is a byproduct of that. But so many people are terrified of losing it, and I promise you, your fear of losing it is actually what's making you not make more. So you have to be okay with losing money and actually okay with like seeing the drawbacks of gaining money for you to break through it. And I know that seems like a paradox, but most truth exists in the paradox of life. So give this one a shot. I wanted to throw this one in and really challenge you and stretch you, because I have done this a number of times with my high-level facilitators and in my Vortex Mastermind, and it's super liberating to face our fears and realize, like, oh, if that actually did come true, it's actually not that big of a deal. Because think about it. If you go bankrupt, you get to start over. Money isn't controlling your life. You get to start fresh. Maybe you get to come up with new ideas and get creative. I have personally had clients who have either filed bankruptcy or been on the brink of it or had bankruptcy in their family. And we do this exercise in our one-on-one sessions or in Money Metamorphosis, and they are so liberated. And they realize, I don't have to live in fear anymore. Fear is going to come and go, but I don't have to have it be the driving force of my life. And then I can ultimately understand that my wealth comes from within, and it has nothing to actually do with the money in the bank account, right? And so in that space of creation and liberation and self-worth, that you're worthy no matter what is in your bank account, that's actually the secret paradox for more money to come in, right? Because you're not attached to it. So it's the practice that the Buddha said of detachment and non-attachment. It's funny how those ancient teachings actually come full circle. All right, my friends, thank you so much for tuning into this. I really, really hope you got something out of it. Let me know what's coming through. Let me know what's landing, what's challenging you, what's inspiring you. And if you heard something in here that would really, really benefit you, or really, really benefit someone, one, share this podcast because that's how this work gets out. Number two, if you really want to master this, master these money energetics, really break down how to embody a new level of wealth from within, then I want to invite you to my Money Metamorphosis experience. And I'll make sure the link is in the show notes. It's an amazing experience that I host. There's over 25 hours of trainings on not only money, but sales, understanding how money works for you and your kids. By the way, I have guest speakers in there. I give you plug and play templates and frameworks and calculators so you can get organized with your money, understanding how money flows, your assets, your liabilities, everything in between, as well as expanding your revenue ceiling. There's really, really powerful exercises in there that recode your nervous system and your DNA at a cellular level. And I've guided dozens of people through this program. And it's really cool because the results are just so inspiring. One woman, she signed up for the program, and 2 weeks in, she helped close $100,000 sale in her company. I've also had people be able to pay off all their debt within the program, increase their sales activity, their sales revenue, and not just make more money, but actually feel inspired by their job again, inspired by their career, that money doesn't have to control their life. And in that, we actually make more revenue. That's the paradox here. So thank you for tuning in, my friends. I love and appreciate you so much, and I look forward to seeing you in Money Metamorphosis. Cheers.